One of the most common questions that people ask is, who is God? The uncreated creator is a spaceless, timeless, immaterial, personal mind. When we say personal, we mean a mind which is not a mechanically operating, impersonal cause, as God necessarily has rationality, self-consciousness, volition, or the ability to alter intention. God is the GCB, the greatest conceivable being, which includes being omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, and omnibenevolent. And when we use the word conceivable here, we simply mean possible. In other words, God is the greatest possible being. God is also necessarily righteous, just, moral, and fair. These are all qualities a GCB must possess. And a quick reminder here, omnipotence is not defined by doing the logically absurd. For example, just because God cannot create a being greater than himself, that does not mean he is not omnipotent. Some have asked, why is it greater to be good rather than evil? And some have suggested that greatness is subjective, meaning one person's idea of what greatness is may vary from the next. Let's discuss firstly why the definition of greatest conceivable being is not subjective, rather it is essential. Properties of greatness, for example, are objectively true and exist independently of anyone's beliefs or opinions, and they are a necessary part of God's essential nature. Next, we must remember that evil is not a thing. Evil is simply the absence of good, or the deviation of God's righteous standard. As for good and evil being subjective, let me remind you that something like rape, for example, is objectively evil. It's not subjective. This is true for all universal absolutes. You didn't need to read in a book that rape was wrong, and no one ever needed to teach it to you. You just knew it in your heart. That is because God places objective moral values and duties on all of our hearts. Someone who would argue that rape, for example, is greater than non-rape clearly has never been a victim of this horrific violation or felt its effects. You can continue right on down the line from lying versus honesty, slavery versus non-slavery, being fair versus being unjust, the Holocaust versus no Holocaust, etc. So if you ever were wondering who God is, here you go. God is the UC, the uncreated creator, and God is the GCB, the greatest conceivable being. I love you guys, man. Stay safe. Until next time, bro. Peace.